if you remember Hannah and Aaron, this is their older brother. They were
Oh,
college.
yeah, no, of course. Is she back in Israel?
She's back in Israel. He's in England, and he's on break from university.
Did you hear about what happened in London with the Balfour statue?
No?
Somebody defaced it over the Israel-Palestine issue. Yeah. I think that was either today or yesterday. I read about that in the news. I was like, oh, okay. Like, maybe some people in England know. But I was like, that's a deep one. That's a deep anti-Semitic thing right there.
Okay, we're live.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bokem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchoni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedkem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
You know, that beautiful Kabbalah Shabbat song that we just sang, one of the three great songs from the Kabbalistic city of Tzfat in the 17th century, is welcoming Shabbat and welcoming the ministering angels that accompany the Shabbat. Just this week, I had a discussion with an academic, a professor, who wrote an entire book on angels in Judaism. There's just a very rich tradition going back to biblical mentions and then especially in the rabbinic period. And she did a whole study about that. And although there's a surprising number of contemporary beliefs in angels among certain religious groups, many modern individuals have a more difficult time understanding it in a literal sense. But there is this little commentary to that song that we just sang, a modern commentary that's worth reading since we began with that song. It happens to be on the bottom of page 25. And it's by Rabbi Lawrence Kushner, who was one of the early advocates of mysticism in the Jewish tradition in a contemporary way. And you should know, before I read this comment, that the word in Hebrew, melachim, can mean both messenger and been there. If they had not said what they said, or did what they did, it would not be the way it is now. We would not be the way we are now. Never forget that you too, yourself, may be a messenger, perhaps even one whose errands extends over several lifetimes. And so remember that if you're maybe a long time ago, your mother and father said, "Oh, what an angel you were for that." It could have mystical significance, and you could be, even unknown to yourself, a messenger. And if we look at ourselves as people who carry an important message to somebody else, that's an empowering thought. With that, we continue with our welcome with another of the great Kabbalistic hymns of welcome to the Shabbat, very familiar to us, Lecha Dodi, on page 20.
Dodi lekrat kala, ene Shabbat nekamela. Lecha Dodi lekrat kala, ene Shabbat nekamela. Shamor v'zakor b'dibor echad, Hishmianu el ha-meyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, Shemo tiferet v'litzchila. Lecha Dodi lekrat kala, ene Shabbat nekamela. Lecha Dodi lekrat kala, ene Shabbat nekamela. Likrat Shabbat lekol nelecha ki mekor habracha merosh mikerem nesucha sof matzeh b'makshavas tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, ene Shabbat nekamela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, ene Shabbat nekamela. Idorri kiva orech, kubi ori shiraveri, kevod Adonai alai krikra. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, ene Shabbat nekamela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, ene Shabbat nekamela.
We rise and face the entrance to the synagogue to dramatize our welcome of the Shabbat.
Bogi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzolat toch emune, am segula. Bogi kala.
Apropos of what we were speaking about on the bottom of page 27, entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time. Even at unlikely times and through unlikely places, there is no place on earth without the presence. Our call to worship, the Baruch Hu, page 28. Please be seated. We'll continue with the musical version of Ma'ariv Aravim, the one that we've been singing from time to time recently. It combines Hebrew and English and gives thanks for the world of light around us.
As you turn the seasons round, Machaliv and Azmanim, let the stars keep watch above us. Baraki Akirtsono, for the day and night are yours. Borei Yom V'Layla, Borei Yom V'Layla, Golel Or Mipnei Choshech, V'Choshech Mipnei Or, Borei Yom V'Layla, Borei Yom V'Layla, Golel Or Mipnei Choshech, V'Choshech Mipnei Or. Mavir Yom U'Mevir Laila, crossing over into darkness. Mavdir Ben Yom U'Vein Laila, drawing lines within the light. Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, God, living and enduring. Tamidim Lo Kaleinu, forever and beyond. Borei Yom V'Layla, Borei Yom V'Layla, Golel Or Mipnei Choshech, V'Choshech Mipnei Or. Borei Yom V'Layla, Borei Yom V'Layla, Golel Or Mipnei Choshech, V'Choshech Mipnei Or. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'Ma'ariv Aravim.
Speaking of light and darkness, we do change the clocks tomorrow night, so don't forget to spring forward. There will be more light after dinner. It'll be darker in the morning, but it'll be getting light out with increase in the amount of light very rapidly between now and June. From the world around us of light to the world of inner light, Ahavat Olam, page 32.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Aveta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadta, otanu limadta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shomenu, וקמנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי חיינו, ואורך ימינו, ובאבנגי יומם ולילה נגד.
Let's join together in the Shema on page 34.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levacha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzadecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha vidibartam beshitecha bevetecha ublektecha baderech uvishofecha uvekurmecha ukshatam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot beinenecha וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
It's so easy to take for granted things that we have that other people may not, and among them is freedom, which I think is why the Micha Mocha is sung at every service. It's essentially saying, remember the Exodus, remember slavery, cherish, be thankful for your freedom. Micha Mocha, page 40.
כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהי לו נוספת, נורא תהי לו נוספת. על כבודך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני אדוני יעקב גלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל
introduce the Hashkivenu prayer on page 42 in an unusual way. The Hashkivenu prayer is essentially, in the beginning, a prayer for a good night's sleep, that we lie down restfully, that we get up. And every year when we change the clocks, the debate kind of bubbles up, should we be doing this? And I heard a report while listening to NPR from child psychologists who study sleep in children, who said for that reason alone we shouldn't be changing the clocks, because the disruption of even 1 hour in the clocks, they said, disrupts children's sleep for months afterwards. Adults may be as well, but they were saying just for children. It's an interesting debate that goes on, but we know that even if our sleep is disrupted somewhat on any given night, we don't feel the same in the morning, and we have to catch up or make up that sleep. We're so dependent on sleep, but so too, as scientists have discovered, are all animal species. Every animal has to have kind of like that dormant period. And so I was also reading recently, what about those birds that take those incredibly long migrations, sometimes thousands or tens of thousands of miles, and they don't stop flying? Well, what about their sleep? And what scientists have discovered is that they actually have micro sleeps while they're flying. Their brain goes into a sleep mode for a short period of time, then clicks on again, so that they manage to sleep even while flying. So even though they're migrating, that daily sleep is so important. With that, we'll sing Hashkivenu, page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. Ushmor tzeitzenu Shalom be'adav ha'olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. V'ros aleinu sukat shlomecha, baruchat Adonai. Hapore sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
Page 44. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Are you ready to stand in line with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel? If you are ready to stand in that line of the great tradition, then we're ready to rise for the Amidah prayer. Page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach uviagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon Gomer Chasarim Tovim V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasedei Avot v'imahot, U'mevii geula libnei bneihem leman shemo ba'ava, Melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen. Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai Mekayeh hakol atah Rav lehoshia. Mashiva ruach brit Hashem. Mekolkel chaim bekesed, Mekayeh hakol berachamim rabim. Zomek nofrim verofek olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Mikamot habar givorot, Umino melach, Melech benit umekayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Remanat halakayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai Mekayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimecha kadosh, Ukedoshim b'kol yom yalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. On page 57, Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, u'tfilatam ba'ahava tikabel. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence, Baruch atah Adonai, shotecha levadcha b'yirah na'avot. Shalom Rav, the Great Prayer of Peace, page 60.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Kriyato Melech Adon Lekol HaShalom. Kriyato Melech Adon Lekol HaShalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov eleka levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'kol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
With all the focus on the Middle East, some people may have missed the announcement by the president of Ukraine on the second anniversary of the war that 30,000 Ukrainians have died in the conflict with Russia. Our Misha Barak this evening, our prayers of healing of body and soul go out to so many bereaved families in Ukraine as that war grinds into its third year now. And at the same time, each and every week, our Misha Barak prayers of healing extend to the hostages and their families, to the IDF soldiers and their families, to the families of children who have been killed in war, and those struggling with that unique and terrible bereavement. As I go around, if you would like to name personal loved ones or friends for the Misha Barak prayer, we add those as well. Misha Barak Avotenu v'imotenu hu yishlak b'mehera rifua shlema, rifuat nefesh v'rifuat aguf v'nomar Amen.
Amen.
our source of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, Amen.
The first word of this week's Torah portion gives us one of two names for congregation in Hebrew. The other one is the one that is in our name, Adat, or Adis, in the old-fashioned pronunciation of Ashkenazic Hebrew, the congregation of the faithful. But the other is from Yakel, Kihila, also with a very similar meaning, and very often the synagogue, the congregation was referred to as the Kihila Kedusha, the holy congregation, and then the particular name of that. When you see a kuf before the name of a congregation, or sometimes at a cemetery when they are saying that, Kihila Kedusha, the holy congregation. So here Moses is convening, bringing together, that's what congregation means in the Hebrew, the Israelites to build the first congregation or synagogue, if you will, the tabernacle in the desert. And it's very clear, once again, the Torah repeats this expression, Mekol Nadiv Libo, from every heart who is willing. And then it says later, from every person whose spirit is willing, bring contributions, bring gifts. So we see that the first essential part of congregation is volunteerism, is giving of the heart, the soul, and material giving. And then the Torah portion says, the person who shall lead all of this, actually two people, are Bitzalel and Oholiav, because they're skilled craftsmen, but the Torah says also because the Spirit is in them to do this as well. So we need the volunteers, the people freely giving, and we need the leaders to channel all that energy and giving. And from that we get the Kihila Kedusha, the holy congregation. We think about this theme of the giving and the coming together that results as we pause for a moment in our own silent reflection.
ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
I'd like to talk about a book that I just finished reading this evening, but I know there's other people who have been reading the same book, because this book is going to be featured in our book club discussion on Monday evening via Zoom. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I've unexpectedly been called to a meeting in Philadelphia, so I wanted to share my thoughts as kind of a prelude to the discussion of the book club on Monday. The name of the book, the new novel, is Leaving Eastern Parkway by Matthew Dowd. And I have to tell you, I found it to be a compelling read, a very fast read, something of a page-turner, if you will. And no surprise, based on the title, it's the story of a Hasidic boy who rather abruptly is forced to leave Eastern Parkway, the world of his Hasidic upbringing in Brooklyn, and enter the wider and the wilder world, you may say. So it is a coming-of-age novel, and I enjoyed it because it really did move along, maybe too fast at times, but nevertheless, it kept going. And also because I detected the influences of two great Jewish American writers among my favorites and many others. And specific books. Matter of fact, the most perhaps valued of these two great writers. It reminded me in some ways, of course, of Chaim Potok's The Chosen, which is also about a young man leaving his world. And it reminded me of Bernard Malamud's The Assistant, and I will tell you why in a minute, one of my favorite novels of all time. Then in wanted to look up a few things about Bernard Malamud, I discovered that Malamud was recently given, posthumously, okay, he's been deceased for quite some time, a great honor accorded very few writers in American history. The Library of America, which reprints the complete works of great American writers, just released 3 volumes of the complete works of Bernard Malamud. So that's an incredible honor. And in the February 20th issue of The Nation, literary critic Vivian Gornick had a wonderful paragraph about Bernard Malamud. I had shared it with Doris, who loved the paragraph as well. So I want to share it with you now. Once upon a time, some 60 or 70 years ago, Jewish American writing constituted a significant genre in our national literature. The experience of being Jewish in America became metaphorical in the hands of a multitude of writers endowed with talents both small and large. So great was the influence of this writing at that time that it changed the American language and galvanized imaginative storytelling around a post-war world badly in need of newly invigorated voices. Two of its path-breaking stars were Saul Bellow, who would win the Nobel Prize, and with all due respect, for me, getting through a Saul Bellow novel was hard. His writing was dense, it was thick. It was worth the effort because he was such a master writer, but you can tell me later on after the service if you have that same view of Saul Bellow as I did. I was assigned a couple of his novels in college. Wow. And the second, of course, was Philip Roth, both of whose work was characterized by a compulsive brilliance, and the writing was bravura writing, an exuberant nastiness, and a take-no-prisoners humor edged in self-laceration. I mean, you either love Philip Roth or you hate his writing. However, she goes on, a third Jewish American writer of major importance also emerged in the 1950s, Bernard Malamud. His voice sounded nothing at all like Bellow's or Roth's. It was neither electrifying nor savvy, but it too endowed the experience of being Jewish in America with transformative powers. Whereas Bellow and Roth took as their subject the lives of educated Jews emerging into full assimilation, Malamud took for his the homegrown shtetl-like Jews living in Brooklyn and the Bronx, those paralyzed by poverty and ignorance, and touched them with a kind of literary magic that sent the metaphor diving into depths hitherto unknown. As Bellow said of Malamud after his death, he was, quote, an original of the first rank, in whose works one always heard the accent of hard-won emotional truth. I don't know about you, but when I read The Fixer, which won the National Book Award and the Pulitzer Prize, I entered into the world of Eastern European Jews, of Russian Jews, and their suffering in an incredible way. The Fixer was transformative, but so too was, in my opinion, a smaller novel, the one I referenced earlier, The Assistant. Now, why did I think of The Assistant in reading Leaving Eastern Parkway? Because The Assistant was based on the unlikely friendship between an older Jewish shopkeeper. His health is failing and his shop is failing. And this young 25-year-old ne'er-do-well, what was his name? Frank, desperate for a job, desperate for redemption, comes in and befriends Morris, the shop owner, in a very unlikely way, and then offers to work for free. Morris hires him as an assistant, and the tale unfolds from there with its ups and downs. But the unlikely friendship between Jew and non-Jew, now Matthew Dowd reverses that. In this particular case, the young boy turning into a man is Jewish, but he befriends in this book, if you remember, a non-Jew named Joe, who becomes a father figure to him, who was once a champion handball player, just like the protagonist of the book. And in that unlikely friendship, I saw echoes of the assistant. A little bit more about the book. I had to laugh because both the protagonist, Zev Altshul, and his sister, Frida, and everybody else in that former Hasidic world acknowledged that Frida first and then her brother were OTD. Now, in parlance in my wife's world, she has those initials after her name. It means occupational therapy doctorate. So it's very important. It's an earned doctorate that my wife has. But you know what it means in the book?
No.
Off the derech. Derech means way. It means somebody who has lost their way. So that, I've heard that parlance in the Frum community for real.
Yeah.
It's an expression, OTD. You're OTD. You're off the derech. You're wayward. You've left the fold. That's the term they use for anybody who leaves their world. So Zev is already slipping away because he loves handball so much that he even plays it on Shabbat. Right. But in this case, when his parents tragically die, he truly leaves that world and joins his sister in Chicago. And when, in the Chicago area, when he is brought by a host family and with his sister's encouragement to the local Reform synagogue, imagine a young Hasidic boy coming into a Reform synagogue. It's very vividly displayed in the book. And he's looking at the rabbi who doesn't wear a kippah. He's looking at men and women sitting together. He's looking at a totally different form of prayer in English and Hebrew. And at first, he's saying to himself, these are Jews, and what do I have in common with them? But his journey continues in many different ways. And slowly but surely, he starts to see the commonality. He actually befriends the rabbi. He's moved by the rabbi's concern for him and the rabbi's goodness. And so by the end of the book, he's willing to see what we call Klal Yisrael. He's willing to see the entirety of the Jewish community, that these too are Jews, that these are caring Jews, and he learns from that. That's one of the key lessons, I think, that he experiences concerning his Jewish identity. He doesn't agree with everything that he sees, but he appreciates it as well. So I'll end on that note, because that journey is one that we all have to take in some respects. We all start from a particular background, from a particular spot, but to embrace the entirety of Judaism and of different Jewish paths, and to respect that beautiful coat of many colors is a journey that we all take. I do urge you to take the book out from the library if you haven't read it, because it's a quick read. It's the kind of book you can read when you're going on vacation, on a trip as well. And I respect the fact of its nod to some of the great Jewish American writers in its own unique way. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I hope that's been helpful for the book club as a prelude. As we open the Ark now for the Emuno prayer, the bottom of page 282, please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא עשה בנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ויראת היום מהשבותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינות, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
On this Shabbat, we now remember in love and reverence the Yortzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Myra Ann Schuldman, sister of Annette DeMarco. For all those close to our hearts and for all those for whom there may be no one to say Kaddish, we join in the mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadak shemei Rabba be'alma divrach yirutei namich malchutei v'hayekon u'yomekon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitaleh v'yitala shemei d'kudisha b'richu Ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nekata damiran be'alma v'imru Amen.
יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
May the source of peace and peace to all mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. By the way, I didn't mention that I also identified with this book because my father played handball growing up in Brooklyn. He loved it. He would go down Ocean Parkway to Coney Island, to the famous courts there. He met the greats. He played a lot. He eventually switched to tennis for the rest of his life because that was very localized. But the vivid description of handball, my father used to tell me it was a great game, and he loved one-wall handball in particular. Michael, come on up.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yes, and thank you very much, Rabbi, for being the lead off for our book group on Monday, and also for recommending that we choose at some point a Malamud book like The Assistant.
Yes.
I think we might have books already scheduled. I'm not sure of that.
We don't have any schedules, but we have a lot of suggestions.
We have a lot of suggestions. So, right, and in preparation, I watched a lot of one wall, two wall, one wall, three wall, and four wall handball on YouTube, and one wall is the most difficult, I think, because of the angles, and it makes it. And thank you, student Cantor Flaxman, for leading us in prayer and song, and getting edging so much closer to your
Less than 2
graduation
months.
and ordination, which will be quite an event.
Yeah, 2 months. Yeah.
2 months away. Torah study meets tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and all members are welcome to attend. Tomorrow's discussion will relate to differing viewpoints on Jewish law. And handball. There'll be a game of handball played after on the back here, back of the building. Religious school is in session this Sunday. The Emuno book club, as you said, it was meeting to discuss leaving Eastern Parkway, and most of our, I would say all of our book group meetings have had lively discussions. The Poetry Garden meets at 7 p.m. on March 10th. There you're encouraged to bring your own original poems or poems of poets you enjoy. That probably won't be outdoors because I don't think the weather is going to be conducive yet.
Doris is going to be on Zoom? I would think.
Oh, is that on Zoom? It's not in person here?
And we haven't switched here yet, but it's Zoom.
Okay.
Daylight changes, maybe we'll go in person.
How can someone pick up that Zoom link if they're interested?
Maybe email maybe you or the rabbi, and
Oh.
then we'll send it to Lance, because he just sends it to the group of people then. That's a very good idea, though.
We'll have to see because he's leaving the country on Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, somehow you have to work that out because he may not be here to lead that. I'm not sure of his schedule. Our social action committee, led by Annette DeMarco, is engaged in a big food drive for donation to the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey. The Federation has given us blue bags, which can be found at the back of the sanctuary or in the vestry room to the left of the foyer. And a list of requested items will be available there too. And please leave your donations on the school porch or in the vestry room. We are also continuing to collect diapers, as always, sizes 4, 5, and 6, and they're truly appreciated. Mark your calendar for an exciting Emuno art show featuring many of our talented artists. This fundraiser will be held on April 7th at the historic and beautiful home of Bill Ziegler and Sue Boyd. It's worth coming just to see the home. There'll be a silent auction with bidding on amazing artwork of our own artists, those of Emuno. Feel free to bring friends along with you, and many thanks to those artists who are contributing their work for this festive fundraiser. You should have received even an invitation. I don't know if you, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, a beautiful invitation that was designed by Michael Scowden, and the fundraiser is organized by the committee of Virginia Gitter, Michael Scowden, and Susan Gray, and we owe them a lot of thanks, and we owe all the artists a lot of thanks for contributing their works. Tonight's Oneg is sponsored by Doris White. I forgot to bring up my glasses. Doris White is sponsoring this Oneg to celebrate new light, the light of Shabbat candles, the light that will make our days longer, and the glimmer of light that's coming to our country. Thank you, Dylan, for streaming tonight's service. Shabbat Shalom.
Another strength of the book was that it showed both the sweetness of the traditional world that Zev was leaving, but also the darker side, the stinging side. And our final song speaks about the sweetness and the stinging. It's the classic Israeli song, Al Kol Ela, giving thanks for all of it. It's in the book on page 347. This is one of Naomi Shemer's famous songs, 347.
על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על ביתנו התינוקת שמור אל יהתו, על האש המבוערת, על המים הזכים, על האיש השב הביתה מן המרחקים, על כל אלה, על כל אלה, שמור לי אלי הטוב, על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על נתק אור נטוע, אל תשכח את התקווה, השיבני ואשובה אל הארץ הטובה, על כל אלה, שמור לי הטוב, על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.